I've done a lot of work getting things tidied up here. You can see I've got a nice Jesse's bed's nicely padded out with wood chip. We've got our wood chip all the way down the bottom, and the reason why I want nice wood chip paths this time of year is it's probably a big problem in a lot of homes, but I take a lot of dirt back to the house, and I want to be able to come up here in my shoes, just my regular wet shoes, and do the chores in the winter time. And I can do that by having nice wood chip paths everywhere here. I'm only walking on the gravel or on the wood chip, and that means I can go around, service all the animals in the winter time without having to put on boots. And it means that I'm not dragging stuff back into the house and creating problems in there. So yeah, really focusing and working on getting everything kind of nailed down, so I have a real slick, clean, tidy operation. I got my little gate here. I just pop that off, pop them over there, and in the morning I like to come in and just check the chickens and see that everything looks okay, and then I'll go back and get wood chip. This all looks good. Another thing I like to do is when I'm spreading wood chip in the polytunnel, what inevitably happens is if I don't put on a pair of, these are just a pair of light, we call them legs or pullovers. If I don't put these on, what happens is I'm spreading wood chip. It all goes down my boots, sawdust. I go back in home and I've got wood chip and sawdust all over my socks, and I'm dragging them through the house. And equally in the summertime, the problem is grass seed. So to try and not prevent a wire at home from me taking in all the dirt, by slipping on these guys when I'm spreading the wood chip or the sawdust, just makes everything a bit easier. Now we're ready to go and bed the chickens. I keep our wood chip stored in our bigger polytunnel here. We use about half a bag a day, so a bag lasts 2 days. So I'm going to grab this guy. These are they're wood shavings. Now, these ones aren't particularly great because they're heat treated. They're not kiln dried. If you want bedding, you need kiln dried. Now I've had these in the polytunnel for nearly 7 months, so they're pretty much dried out now. But when I got them first, there was still a lot of moisture in them, and that isn't particularly good for locking down nitrogen, because the water's taking up space, so you want them as dry as possible. So one thing I've learned is when you're looking for wood products, try and get kiln dried if you can. It's going to be the optimum. Well, it's going to be the best value for money if you compare it out compared to this is just heat treated. Out of the way. Out, out, out. Jesse, out here. Come on, out. Get out. Jess, out. Good girl. And with the wood chip, I just put an even sprinkling around. I could tip it out in piles and the chickens would spread it too. But Jesse, settle it. I just sprinkle it out, and I generally only do the top half of the polytunnel because it works its way down anyway, and the bottom half is it's got about a foot of dry sawdust anyway. This is slightly damper up here. You can see how a lot of it used to end up in my Wellingtons. And I'll do this every day. It's really important to stay on top of the manure so that you don't get any smell from me. If I'm up and down enough, I'll know straight away when I walk in you can start to get the smell. And I find a half a bag of this works perfect in this size for what these chickens are manuring. Jesse. I'm going to take this guy out of the way and fill him up next. So that's the bedding sorted now. A couple other things we've got to do now. I give them a feed with the feed trough here. I've got a feed trough. I leave that there. I move it around, but I tend to give them 1 bucket of feed a day in this trough. And it tends to take them the day to eat down the bucket, but it's just so that if they're up here, it doesn't mean they have to walk the whole way back to the feeding trough to get a feed. And I think I'm also trying to keep them from psychologically getting bored in here and going pecking at each other. So if there's some feed here and they're not hungry, I think that's a good thing, so they don't bully each other. Now, the next thing I got to do is I got to get some stimulants in here. So I'm going to go get some grass. I make pretty much like a big grass ball and I hang it off from the top here. I'll show you how I do that. And I get some squashes, beetroots, any kind of root vegetable or big vegetable that they can peck on, so I've got to go get them. I'm out here in my tree lane. This is a young pear tree, and behind us I've got that's a hazelnut. No, it's not, that's another pear tree. Should have been a hazelnut. And as you can see, these are well overgrown. Now these were all mulched out in the late spring, early summer, and it just gets overgrown. So I'm kind of doing 2 jobs with one. Now I'm going to clean up around this tree. I've got my trusty opinel here, and I'm going to clean up around this tree. I'll come back later and put some sheep wool around it, but I'm going to take that grass then and give it to the chickens. I kind of cut a mat. I cut it out in a mat and then I roll it into a ball and it makes this big ball of grass, and we'll take that and hang it up. And so trees are getting mulched. I'm actually getting outside, getting a bit active in the winter time. I'm only doing a little bit. I do maybe 1 or 2 of these a day, and by the time the end of the winter is, I'll have most of my trees mulched out and the chickens are getting access to grass every day. Now all we simply do is hang it up here. Again, I put a running clove hitch on this so I can change the height. And some days I'll hang 2 of these, some days I'll hang 1, depends how I feel with it. I like to leave it a bit off the ground so the chickens have to jump up and it swings like this here. You can see it swinging that way. And then later on in the day when I come in, I'll lower it down a bit. Here I've just got some squash and some courgettes, big brood of a courgette. We just put that out and the chickens will peck away at that. Give them something to do. So the last thing now is to give them some feed. Now these chickens are already fed. They've got access to feed in the egg mobile, but it's just to have it here for them. Now, that's these guys all sorted in here. We'll go and check the egg mobile. This is what it looks like from the back now. I'm really happy with how this is all working out. So, as you can see, there's not too many guys in here. I like to check in the nest boxes. There's some eggs already. These guys know there's something up outside, so they're all kind of going out there. Some are working. I've decided to leave my feeder in here. I'll tell you in a little bit why that is. And you can see my solution. I've just put a little bit of a mat in underneath it, which catches any spilt grain, and the chickens eat it. I'll talk outside why I've done that. And I'm just going to go up now and check their waters up there. I'm going to check their waters okay, and then we're done with the chickens. This is how our rollaway nest boxes work. So the nest boxes actually roll that way. Now, normally the eggs would roll, but another chicken's going to come in here and hit that. Another one's going to hit that, and off it goes. And they're stored down there. These guys are like, can you leave us in peace? And one thing I find, these nest boxes aren't particularly dark. I've never put covers on them, but the chickens use them all fine anyway. So you can see one little problem I have is this doesn't go all the way, but I'm coming in here once a day anyway. I check that and push it out. Happy days. Jesse's checking on everything. The reason I left the feeder in there was, well, one of the main reasons was it's bloody heavy. It was going to be a big work for me to drag it out and get it all the way up here. But the second thing was, when I studied it, you have to be very careful when you change the chicken's environment, particularly where they lay. Because if I put the feeder in here, they're going to get up in the morning, come straight out and start eating. And then they're going to want to lay an egg. And maybe they're not so sure where the nest boxes was again, so they just lay on the floor in the polytunnel. And then once a chicken does that once, it's a nightmare to try and get her to stop. I had it one time in my winter house now, maybe 2 years ago, where the nest boxes malfunctioned and didn't open up one morning. And a good question was asked is, why do we close the nest boxes? Well, the reason why we close them is because at night time the chickens would go and they would sleep in there, and then they would make a poo in there. And then the next day when they go to lay their eggs, those eggs would roll in the poo and we'd have dirty eggs, and we don't want that. So a very simple thing we do is we close the nest boxes at night. The chickens can't sleep in there, and then once it's dark they open again and they're ready for the morning. And this particular morning the nest boxes never opened, and so the chickens had nowhere to lay. And it was in the middle of winter, so I wouldn't come until the sun started to come up, so that was like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and a lot of them already wanted to lay at that point. And so they just laid on the floor because they had nowhere else to go, which was fair enough for them. But it takes a lot. It takes like 3-4 weeks then to stop them laying on the floor. You got to come up every morning when it's dark, and you see one of them sitting down ready to lay. You got to pick her up and put her back in the nest box, and it takes a long time to get that out of them. And so I didn't want that to happen in here. So I thought, you know what? It's good to have the feed in the egg mobile. It'll keep them in there early in the morning, so then they can eat there, and then they're like, oh, I want to lay an egg. Well, the nest box is right here. And that's my thinking on it anyway. I mean, I don't think it's right or wrong. I think I could put it in here too and it would totally work. But I've come up with a solution to stop the grain falling out. There's two things I could do there. I could put little grids across the feeder so the chickens can't scrape at it. I didn't feel it was necessary. I thought I'd just put a little bit of card in underneath the feeder, so if anything does pop out, it'll hit the card and then the chicken will just gobble it up. That's my solution. But all in all, the feeder's working great. It holds 151 kilos of grain, and because I give them a bucket as well every day in there, it just means I don't have to fill the feeder. I fill it once a week now, and I give them one bucket of grain there, and it's just working a dream. There's no pressure on me to be up here at any time in the morning. I just come, do it. I like to do it in the chores in the morning, get them bedded out, get them some fresh grass. Just works well for me, but I could do that any time in the day, really. So I needed to get some sort of light for my honesty shop, and I found these guys here. I was thinking about putting in internal lights with light sensors, and because people are only going to be coming and going, and I only need it when it's dark. And I found these are little, they're actually external, like little floodlights, but they've got a a daylight sensor and a motion sensor already built into them, and they're only like €20. So rather than me messing about with the whole thing, I'm just going to pop one of these on the inside and one on the outside, I think, and it should work. I've never used them before, so I'm just going to plug it in here and see. We can adjust the settings on it here to get it to work. This is our little farm shop here, and I put this in the springtime, and I didn't really do much work with it, so I need to kind of get it organised. We've got a fridge and a freezer in here now. We've got beef coming next week, so we'll still need the fridge, but after we're done with the fresh beef, it'll be only frozen produce, so I'll actually put in a big freezer in here, which with a glass door, which will display it better. I am actually getting my power from an extension cord right now, so we need to put in a permanent a heavier wire. We just need to run it up to the shed there, and I want to put in some lights in here. I want to put a light on the outside because it's going to get a lot darker now in the winter time, so light on the outside, light on the inside, and they need to be light sensitive and motion sensitive, and get a plug in to plug into and get a bit of shape on it. Alrighty, we got our light out here, and your light in here. I'm going into a junction box. From the power, just got to put some clips in this line, runs it over to here. Now we got to, this will be our plug, we got to bring power in from the outside, so the next job is to go and run our power on the outside. We got a light, and the outside one shouldn't work. I'll come back later and check that one when it gets dark. And we got our fridge, we got power in there, it's nice and neat, everything looks good, happy days. I need to do a better job when I go to put in my big freezer. I'll put in some shelving space and make it a wee bit better. I mean, it's totally functional now. We have our cash box, we have our price list, and actually someone's just come and taken out a chicken. We keep our meat stocked in here. We've got some honey. Our eggs are down at the main road. Jesse, there's another job done, getting through the list every day, but that's the thing with a farm, the list just keeps on going. These guys can't see very much, but I'm just coming up to the honesty shop here. I'm at the farm gate. We go through the gate, we walk up, hey, and our light comes on, we can make a purchase, we come inside, hey, we've got another light. That all works pretty good. I'm happy with that. Come on. Morning move for the goodies. Come on, goods. Come on, goods. Come on. Jesse, come on down here. Jess, come on. Here, wait. Wait. It's going to be a good dog. Come on, goods. There you go. Come on. Come on. Fresh grass and bushes. The goats are in this particular part for quite a good reason. They've got access to all this area in here. This is where I want to build my pond, and I've kind of been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, but I've actually secured some funding to put it in through an initiative that I'm a part of, and there's a time limit on it, so that's kind of got the fire under me to get it sorted. So this is all just brush that I've been piling up for the last 3 years actually. So pretty much most of this is just bushes that I've cut from various places around the farm, and I've just piled it up. It's made a good habitat, but we're going into winter now, so it should be pretty clear, and there's just a couple of trees in behind that I'll take down with it, but I got to get in here and wood chip all this with the chipper. That's going to take a couple of days, and I want to clear out these few trees behind, and then when we get it opened out, we'll get a look then at what size of a pond we're going to get in here. We'll put an earthen dam on this side, and I want to put it in a decent sized pond, so I can only really go up as far as there, but it's difficult to tell, to be honest, until I get all the bush out of here and get the trees, whatever trees are coming out. I want to keep all the trees at the back because the neighbours are up there, and I don't want, if they don't want to look at the pond, I don't want them to have to look at it. So we'll keep the trees along the back there. So that's the plan for this area, and the goats are just in here to kind of clean up all the briars and brambles, and it'll make it way easier for me then when it comes to chipping. Thanks guys. So as you can see outside, it's really windy today, and one job I need to get done is close up this back door. Now this back of this tunnel is facing west, and our prevailing one really is south-southwest. Here it's there now, and so I'm going to put on 2 sheets of ply on here now. I want one of them to be a door that I can come and go, because I'll probably use this as my main entrance and exit from the tunnel, because what happens is if I open the front door, then the air can really get into the tunnel. And like I remember a few times last winter, I got up in the middle of the night to come up here and check, and I used to have a lot of layers in this tunnel, and that's why it's really a peace of mind for me to have them in the back tunnel, because that's protected from my with my windbreaks, so I don't worry about that cover taking off. Whereas with this one, there was a few nights last year where the wind really got up, and I thought the cover would be gone off the tunnel, and didn't know what was going to happen to my chickens, but thankfully it's still here. But I think it's a good idea for me to leave the front of the tunnel closed for most of the winter, and just use the back entrance here, because as you can see from behind, we're really protected, first of all by trees, but also the topography of the ground. The ground rises up on the other side of the road over there, so we're kind of sheltered from the wind as well. It's going to be straightforward enough. My plan is just to screw this on here, and I need to figure the door out. The door isn't as straightforward as I think. My original plan in my head was just to have 1 sheet of ply hinging, but it's going to be too much. Got my trusty level. See if we can get this somewhat level or square. I better check. See if I want this to be my door post. A little bit off level there. Wonder who put that in. I'm going to say it's settled over now. Got some of these guys. These were actually bottoms and nest boxes once upon a time, and I changed them out for mesh. I use them for anything and everything on the farm. But I think I can, if I stick 2 of them together and make this our door, I'll just put another sheet of ply there. I want to leave a door on here because I think when I've got the goats in here, I want to be able to let them in and out and graze, and I want to come in and out, and yeah, I think that'll be a good idea. As you can hear, it's raining pretty bad, so that's why we're doing some of the inside jobs today. It's not that nice outside. And there we have it. I got kind of lazy at the end, so I really skimped up here. That's my door. I mean, it's going to do the job. I need to get a latch for here. I don't have any latches in stock, so next time at the hardware I'll pick up one for that, and we'll put the latch on the outside, I think. I'll just put the latch on out here and stick a latch on there. Job's a good one. Another job done, and hopefully that'll stop the cover blowing off our polytunnel if we get a west wind. Very often what happens to me here is I get so busy in the late summer, because that's generally a busy time. We're harvesting the animals, lots of customers to deal with, and what I end up doing is I skimp on my winter prep, and I don't put enough time and effort into it, and I'm trying to avoid that this year. I'm trying to really get my winter prep dialed in, because what I'll end up doing is putting something silly in place that might require me doing something for like 2 minutes a day because I didn't go and do the right job. And I do that all winter. Then I waste 2 minutes every day all winter, rather than spending 30 minutes or an hour in the autumn doing a proper job. So I'm really trying to get everything dialed in so my winter setup's really nice. I'm just down here with Neve and Jesse's down at the water like a lunatic. But like to walk along the shore here and find stuff that gets washed in. And this is a pair of Pelter earmuffs. Pelter, like the Rolls Royce earmuffs, and they're absolutely perfect. A little bit of water in them, we'll dry them out and they'll do good. And I just see I found a buoy here too. So after every big storm or that, we walk along the shore here down past the farm and see what treasures the ocean's given us. So my buoy, my Pelters. The farm actually has rights to harvest seaweed. There's a lot of seaweed washed up here now. I should probably take some of this up and put it in my compost pile, but I don't feel like wheelbarrowing it right now. So yeah, maybe in the springtime. We'll get some in the storms in the springtime.